Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive.
Today,
Today we're going to be looking at Roman engineering.
I'm fascinated by
Hey,
how the Romans were able to build things that lasted for so long.
yeah,
Um,
and
um,
I know you're an expert on this, so I'm excited to kind of pick your brain a little bit about
Absolutely.
some of the amazing things that they accomplished.
And I know we've got a lot of material to cover today.
We do.
We've got some articles, we've got
Some books,
some books,
and even some documentaries.
so
We're going to kind of go through all of that and pull out the most,
interesting and insightful bits, and
Yeah.
see if we can't
learn a thing or two from the Romans.
exactly.
Maybe we can apply some of their wisdom to our own lives.
And I think we can.
Yeah, and the challenges that we face today.
So before we jump into the specifics,
I guess the first question I have for you is
what is it about Roman engineering that makes it so...
unique and impressive even by today's standards.
I think the Romans had this grand vision,
They weren't just building structures, they were building an empire.
and they understood that every road, every aqueduct,
Every building played a role in connecting this vast territory and that approach.
was crucial not only for their expansion, but also for their economic dominance.
That's amazing.
So they were really thinking long term. They
Yeah.
weren't just
Building for the immediate needs, they were building for,
generations to come.
generations to come, like a legacy.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we can definitely learn from today.
For sure.
We often think about
Instant gratification and short-term gains.
but the Romans, they really had that long view in mind.
They did.
So let's start with,
One of their most iconic achievements, the Roman roads.
okay.
We've all heard the saying, all roads lead to Rome.
But how accurate is that statement, really? It's pretty accurate, actually.
The Romans were obsessed with connectivity.
They built thousands of miles of roads stretching across their entire empire.
And these roads weren't just dirt paths. They were carefully engineered masterpieces.
Built to withstand heavy traffic and all kinds of weather.
They used a layered system of gravel and paving stones, and some of these roads are still in use today.
That's incredible. It's mind-blowing to think that something built,
Thousands of years ago could still be functional today.
but I guess that speaks to the quality and the craftsmanship
Exactly.
that the Romans were known for.
It wasn't just about getting from point A to point B.
These roads were vital for the Roman military
They needed to move troops and supplies quickly across their vast empire.
to maintain control and respond to threats.
So those roads were really the lifeblood of the empire.
They were.
They connected everything and everyone and allowed Rome to...
Project its power and influence across such a wide area.
Absolutely. It's like the circulatory system of the empire.
The roads were the veins and arteries.
Pumping life and resources into every corner of the Roman world.
That's a great analogy.
And I think it also highlights the importance of robust networks in our own lives.
Whether it's in business or communication or even just our personal relationships.
Strong connections are essential for resilience and success.
For sure.
So we've talked about the roads, but
What about water?
the Romans were famous for their aqueducts.
Yes.
These incredible structures that brought fresh water to their cities.
But how did they actually work?
This is where the Romans really shine.
Their mastery of water management was incredible.
Imagine bringing clean, fresh water to bustling cities using only gravity.
Wait, really?
No pumps or modern technology.
Nope. They built these elaborate systems,
Of bridges, tunnels, and canals.
all carefully designed to maintain a consistent slope over vast distances.
The precision involved is mind-boggling.
Yeah, especially considering they didn't have...
The tools and technology we have today.
Exactly.
So these aqueducts weren't just about providing water, they were also a testament.
To the Romans' ingenuity and their understanding of engineering principles.
They were, and they also show
That the Romans understood the importance of public health.
clean water wasn't just a luxury. It was essential for a healthy and thriving population.
It's amazing how they recognize.
That connection between infrastructure and the well-being of their citizens.
It's not just about building structures.
It's about building a society that works for everyone.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got the roads, we've got the aqueducts,
Now let's move on to something.
a little bit more glamorous.
Okay.
The Colosseum.
This iconic structure is a symbol of Roman entertainment.
And architectural prowess, but what makes it so special from an engineering perspective?
Well, the Colosseum is a marvel of design and construction.
Imagine a massive amphitheater capable of holding 50,000 spectators.
Wow, 50,000 people.
That's bigger than most modern stadiums.
It is, and they hosted everything there from gladiatorial combat.
To wild animal hunts, to even mock naval battles.
That's crazy.
And it was all built using concrete.
Roman concrete.
Yeah.
What's so special about Roman concrete?
This is where the Romans were ahead of their time.
Their concrete wasn't just strong, it was incredibly durable, thanks to a secret ingredient.
Volcanic ash.
Volcanic ash.
Yeah, this special ash.
Made the concrete resistant to the elements and even stronger over time.
That's incredible.
So they basically found a way to make concrete that gets better with age.
They did, and that's why
Structures like the Colosseum are still standing today.
it's mind-blowing.
That they were able to create a material that could last for centuries.
I mean, look at our modern concrete. It starts to crumble after a few decades.
You're right.
But the Roman concrete, it seems like it's
Almost indestructible.
pretty close.
So I guess the takeaway here is that durability matters.
You know, we should be thinking about building things that are built to last.
Absolutely.
Not just for a few years, but for generations to come,
Yeah.
just like the Romans did.
Okay, so we've talked about roads, aqueducts, and the Colosseum.
All impressive feats of engineering.
But the Roman Empire wasn't all grandeur and entertainment.
That's true.
They had to defend their vast territories as well.
They did.
So let's talk about Roman military engineering.
Okay.
What were some of the key features of their fort walls and defensive structures?
Well, their military engineering was just as impressive as their civil engineering,
They built forts, walls, and defensive structures.
all designed to protect their borders and project their power.
Take Hadrian's Wall, for example.
Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
It's this massive wall built across northern Britain.
To defend the Roman province from those pesky Picts,
It was more than just a wall, though it was a complex system of watchtowers.
forts and garrisons designed to control the border and repel invaders.
Garrisons.
Yeah, garrisons are basically groups of soldiers stationed in a particular location.
To defend it.
So Hadrian's Wall wasn't just a physical barrier.
It was a whole defensive
It
system.
was.
And I imagine it sent a pretty clear message to anyone thinking of attacking Rome.
It did, don't mess with us, basically.
But these structures weren't just about defense.
They were also about projecting power and authority.
Right. It's like saying,
This is Roman territory, and we're here to stay.
exactly.
And that brings up an interesting point.
You know, in our own lives, we also need to build systems,
That protect us and support our goals.
whether it's our finances, our health, or even just our emotional well-being.
That's a good point.
We need to create structures that provide stability and resilience.
In the face of challenges.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of serious stuff.
Roads, aqueducts, military fortifications.
But let's not forget that the Romans also knew how to relax.
They did.
And what better way to relax than at a Roman bathhouse?
Ah, the bathhouses.
Tell me about those.
These were incredible places.
Not just for getting clean, but for socializing, exercising, and enjoying all sorts of leisure activities.
So it was more than just a place to take a bath.
Oh, yeah, much more.
It was a social hub, a community center, and a place to unwind and rejuvenate.
What were some of the features that made these bathhouses so special?
Well, they had heated floors, saunas, and pools.
Wow, heated floors back then.
Yes. They had this ingenious system called a hypocaust.
A hypocaust.
Yeah, basically it was a system of furnaces located beneath the bathhouse,
That heated air, which then circulated under the floors and through the walls.
creating a warm and comfortable environment.
So it was like ancient underfloor heating.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing these bathhouses were only for the wealthy elite.
Actually, no Roman bathhouses were surprisingly inclusive.
People from all walks of life could enjoy these facilities.
It was a place where social barriers were broken down and people from all classes.
Could come together to relax and socialize.
That's amazing.
So the Romans really understood the importance of creating spaces for connection
They did.
and community building.
And I think that's something we can learn from today.
You know, in our increasingly isolated world, we need more spaces.
Whether physical or virtual, that bring people together
Absolutely.
and foster a sense of belonging.
Well, that's a fantastic point.
To wrap up part one of our deep dive into Roman engineering.
We've journeyed through their iconic roads, marveled at their ingenious aqueducts,
Explored the grandeur of the Colosseum, and even dipped our toes into the social world.
of their bathhouses.
But our exploration isn't over yet.
We'll be right back to delve even deeper into the legacy of these ancient builders.
And discover what lessons we can apply to our modern world.
I can't wait.
So stay tuned for part 2 of the deep dive.
Where we'll continue our journey through the fascinating world of Roman engineering.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Roman engineering.
Before we move on, I'm really struck by
How the Romans thought about infrastructure.
it wasn't just about functionality.
Right.
It was about connecting their vast empire and
Creating something that would truly last.
yeah, they were masters of the big picture.
They understood that investing in robust, well-planned infrastructure.
It wasn't just about the present. It was about building a strong foundation for the future.
It makes you wonder,
Have we lost sight of that long-term vision?
in our modern approach to infrastructure.
It's a good question.
But before we get too philosophical,
Let's get back to those amazing Roman innovations.
what else can we learn from them?
Well, I think their commitment to durability was incredible.
I mean, they didn't just want to build things.
They wanted to build things that would last for centuries.
And they succeeded. Just look at how many of their structures are still standing today.
It's true.
When you visit a Roman ruin,
You can't help but feel a sense of awe at...
how these structures have endured for so long.
And it wasn't just about using strong materials.
Right.
Was it?
No, it was about the quality.
And the craftsmanship.
Yeah, they were meticulous.
And their planning, their design.
And their construction methods.
Absolutely.
And as we discussed earlier,
Their concrete was a game changer.
it was revolutionary.
It wasn't just strong. It was designed to get stronger over time.
Thanks to that volcanic ash,
Can you imagine that?
building something that actually improves with age.
It's mind-boggling.
It makes our modern concrete...
Look pretty flimsy in comparison.
I know, right?
It does make you wonder,
Yeah, what we could achieve if we applied
that same level of ingenuity and long-term thinking.
to our modern infrastructure projects.
For sure.
So, okay, durability was a huge factor.
In Roman engineering, what else stands out to you?
As a key principle we can learn from.
I think it's their understanding that good infrastructure,
Is about more than just functionality
it's about serving the needs of the people.
and contributing to the common good.
You've mentioned this before.
And I'm really intrigued by this idea.
You give us an example of,
How the Romans put this principle into practice.
well, think about those aqueducts again.
They weren't just engineering marvels.
They were symbols of Rome's commitment to providing clean water for its citizens.
And not just for the wealthy elite, but for everyone.
This access to clean water had a huge impact on public health sanitation.
And overall quality of life.
It's amazing to think that
They were able to achieve that level of public service.
over 2,000 years ago.
It puts some of our modern infrastructure challenges into perspective.
It does.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder.
That infrastructure should be about more than just
Profit or efficiency,
Right.
it should be about
creating systems that improve people's lives.
and contribute to a more just and equitable society.
I completely agree.
I love that perspective.
It's a great reminder that we can learn valuable lessons.
From the past, even from a civilization as seemingly distant as ancient Rome.
But I have to admit, it's easy to...
Get a bit romantic about the Romans and their achievements.
They weren't perfect, were they?
Of course not. No civilization is without its flaws.
The Roman Empire had its share of social and political problems just like any other society.
Slavery, for example.
It was a deeply ingrained part of their society.
Yeah.
And their military expansion often came at a high cost.
To other cultures and civilizations.
It's important to acknowledge those aspects of their history.
But even with those flaws,
We can still appreciate and learn from their incredible achievements in engineering,
they were innovators, problem solvers, and master builders.
who left behind a legacy that continues to inspire us today.
Absolutely. So, if we could distill the essence of Roman engineering,
Into a few key takeaways, what would they be
what are the most important lessons we can learn?
from these ancient builders?
I'd say the key takeaways are their long-term vision
Their dedication to quality and durability?
and their understanding that infrastructure should serve the common good
These are principles that transcend time.
and remain relevant in our modern world.
I love that it's like,
A blueprint for building a better future.
but how do we actually apply these principles today?
It's one thing to admire Roman engineering
But it's another thing to translate those lessons into action.
in our modern context.
Well, first and foremost, we need to shift our mindset
We need to move away from short-term thinking
and embrace a more long-term perspective.
when it comes to infrastructure.
We need to ask ourselves, what kind of world do we want to create for future generations?
And then make decisions that support that vision.
It's about playing the long game.
Investing in projects that might not pay off immediately.
but will create a lasting legacy for generations to come. And
Exactly.
it also requires a commitment to quality and craftsmanship.
We need to resist the temptation to cut corners or prioritize cheap materials.
Over durability,
We need to be willing to invest in the best materials and the most innovative techniques.
to ensure that our structures are built to last.
For sure.
And that brings us back to that amazing Roman concrete
You know, it really is a testament to their dedication to quality.
and their understanding of material science
What if we could rediscover the secrets of their concrete?
and apply them to our modern construction methods.
That's a fascinating thought.
Imagine being able to build structures that are not only strong and durable.
But also sustainable and environmentally friendly.
Roman concrete, with its use of volcanic ash and locally sourced materials,
Offers a compelling model for sustainable construction.
it's like they were ahead of their time in so many ways.
But beyond materials and techniques,
I think there's a deeper lesson here.
about the importance of investing in the common good.
The Romans understood that.
Strong infrastructure wasn't just about individual gain.
Right.
It was about creating a society where everyone could thrive.
Absolutely.
Their aqueducts, roads, public baths
And even their impressive sewer system.
were all designed to benefit the entire community.
Not just a select few.
That's right.
They recognized that investing in public infrastructure,
As a way to create a more equitable and prosperous society.
it's a valuable lesson
And that's a lesson,
we could really learn from today.
especially in a world where inequality is on the rise.
And public services are often underfunded.
For sure.
So as we continue to grapple
With our own infrastructure challenges.
in the 21st century,
Perhaps we should look back to the Romans for inspiration,
not just for their engineering skills,
but for their long-term vision
their dedication to quality.
and their commitment to the common good.
It's an inspiring legacy.
And a powerful reminder
Mhm.
that we have the ability to create infrastructure,
That is not only functional and durable.
but also beautiful, sustainable, and beneficial to all.
Well said. And on that note,
It's time to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive
but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
to continue our exploration of Roman engineering,
And uncover even more fascinating insights.
about these incredible builders and their lasting legacy. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on this incredible journey through the world of Roman engineering, and I'm still processing it all. Their long-term vision, their dedication to building things that last. I mean, it makes you wonder what they would think of our modern approach to infrastructure.
It really does. It's like, imagine if we could bring a Roman engineer into the present day and show them our highways and our bridges and our skyscrapers. Would they be impressed or would they be horrified?
I think they'd probably be a mix of both, right? I mean, on one hand, we've achieved some incredible feats of engineering, things that the Romans could only dream of. But on the other hand, I think they might be a little bit disappointed by our tendency to build things that are, designed to become obsolete in a few decades.
You're right. I mean, look at their buildings and aqueducts and roads. Some of them are still standing today. They had a different mindset. They built for eternity, or at least they tried to.
It's true. They weren't afraid to think big and invest in projects that would benefit generations to come.
And their structures weren't just functional. They were also works of art. They were meant to inspire awe and wonder.
Yeah, they really understood the power of beauty and aesthetics. It wasn't just about practicality. It was about creating something that was visually stunning and uplifting.
I think we've lost sight of that a bit in our modern world. We're so focused on efficiency and cost effectiveness that we often forget about the importance of beauty and inspiration.
It's true. Form follows function, but that doesn't mean we have to sacrifice aesthetics altogether.
Right. We need to find a balance, a way to build things that are both functional and beautiful.
And I think the Romans can teach us a lot about that balance. Look at the Colosseum or the Pantheon. These are structures that are both incredibly impressive from an engineering standpoint and also just breathtakingly beautiful to look at.
They understood that good design is about more than just meeting basic needs. It's about creating something that elevates the human spirit.
And it's about creating something that lasts. The Romans didn't cut corners. They used the best materials, and they took their time to get things right.
And they were always learning and innovating. They were constantly experimenting with new materials and techniques, and they weren't afraid to adapt and change their methods when necessary.
That's a great point. We often think of the Romans as being stuck in their ways, but they were actually quite adaptable and innovative.
And I think that's another important lesson for us. We need to be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things if we want to build a better future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Roman engineering, What are some of the key takeaways that we can apply to our own lives and to the challenges we face in the 21st century?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of long-term thinking. We need to stop focusing on short-term gains and start thinking about the legacy we want to leave behind.
And that means being willing to invest in projects that might not pay off immediately, but will have a lasting impact on our communities and on future generations.
And it means being mindful of the materials we use and the impact our construction practices have on the environment.
Right. We need to build things that are sustainable and resilient, things that can withstand the test of time and the challenges of a changing climate.
And I think we can learn a lot from the Romans in that regard.
Yeah.
They were masters of using local materials and working with the natural environment.
It's true. They understood that good engineering is about more than just conquering nature. It's about working in harmony with it.
And it's about remembering that infrastructure is ultimately about people you know. It's about creating a world where everyone has access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this journey through the world of Roman engineering. It's been a real pleasure exploring this topic with you.
And we hope you've enjoyed it too, and maybe learned a thing or two along the way. And remember, as you go about your day, keep an eye out for those echoes of Roman ingenuity all around you. The Romans may be gone, but their legacy lives on, and it's up to us to carry the torch and build a future that's just as impressive and enduring.
Thanks for listening.